Peter, I heard
Hey,
you.
there we go.
Yay.
All
So
right.
I finally have gotten to the part where you're at our house. I don't know if you were listening to that.
Yes, yes, I
Uh,
was.
but you came in, and for the first 3 months, you just, as I recall, you only worked on two things. You worked on rapport, building rapport with him, and you occasionally worked on eye contact.
Yeah, and
And
compli and some simple
and
compliance,
and simple
some
compliance.
basic
There we go.
compliance.
I
Yeah,
knew you'd remember. And
yeah,
and what I remember, and I talk about all the time on the show, Peter, is that you would come in, you like wanted to know everything that he loved, and he loved Peter Pan. He was
yeah.
Peter Pan all the way. And so you would come in, and the first thing you would do, I had this stack of construction paper, and you would tear construction paper swords so that you could fight with each other. And the reason why you tore them instead of cutting them was so that nobody would get a paper cut. It would take you several minutes, but then you would play pirate with him with the swords. And my kid still thinks that you are the most amazing thing ever. He looked forward to you
Oh,
coming, like people tell me, "Oh, my child doesn't like when the therapist comes," and I go, it's because they're not doing enough to make them like it. You made sure that he loved it, but then later on, when you explained to me that you would be sorting with him, and then you would freeze. Tell them why you would freeze.
well, I wanted to start bringing him out and having him interact with me. I think that was one of the things that for me was okay. The next step is once I see. Um, so always for me was like I was looking for that look. I was looking for something, some subtle behavior, something in the eyes, something. I wanted some eye contact. I wanted some interaction. I wanted him to be there present, not just focused on the sword play, you know? And that was kind of just would trigger that like he'd look at me and then, okay, step
And it
one
was
before
like
we
your
move
on
on to the
button.
next thing. Yeah, yeah.
It was like the on button, and
Mm-hmm.
Peter would start fighting with
Mm-hmm.
him again.
Mm-hmm.
And you were like this ginormous ball of fun. I used to think that we were going to get evicted because we lived in a condo, that we were in the middle condo. So there were condos on either side of us, and there were condos on one condo on top of us. So noise was certainly an issue always. And Peter would come in, and anytime my son would do something, you were big on throwing him up in the air and going, dude,
Yeah.
and going,
I was very
dude, give
loud.
me five.
Yes.
And you were
Yeah.
loud and you were
Yeah.
rambunctious, and my kid just loved it. But I would
Yeah.
sit there and I would go, we're going to get evicted. Somebody's going to complain. Fortunately, the people in the condos around us were working during the day then. So, we got through it, but because I would have said, too bad. Do you know what I mean? And you made it so reinforcing. You also made it reinforcing for us. And I know I tell you this all the time, that you will never, never know or understand how much you have meant to us, and what you did for us at that time. But every day I'm grateful for you, Peter, every single day. And for what you did, because I think I'm still realizing, Peter, because I only had you in the beginning for 3 months. That's it. And I want people to realize that, because you go, I know everybody writes in and says, I've got this great therapist, and now they're leaving and they're going someplace, and you go, it's the end of your world. Been there, done that. Peter was with us for 3 months in the beginning, and then you left to go to Florida. And were you in Florida for like a year and a half? I know we can't talk about the specifics of it,
I
but you were
think
gone in Florida
so.
for a
Was it?
while.
Yeah, yeah. I was in Florida. No, Florida. I was in Florida for about 6 months.
Okay.
Yeah,
And then when you came back, we lobbied to get you back on our case. And I think we had you for like a year and a half at that point.
yeah. I believe so.
And so, but that first 3 months, man, set us up for success. We got a lot done in the 6 months that you were gone. But when you came in and did that next like year and a half, you were with us, I think, right up until he went to kindergarten. It was sometime after he went to kindergarten that then you left to go to Dubai.
That's right. Yes, that's when I went to Dubai. Correct.
And you were in Dubai for 2
2
years.
years. That's correct. Yeah.
And by the time you came back, Jem had graduated from his program.
Hmm.
But then we reached a point when he was in school, and we were done with intensive ABA, but his placement was changing in school, and I wanted some eyes on it. And so we requested and you were in town, and I said, can we had a therapist who knew him really well come, and we said, can we also have Peter come and observe? And that is when you gave me the famous, you threatened to kick me with your shoe outside the school. Do you recall that?
Yeah, was it a shoe? I don't remember
You
exactly, but
said
I
you
said,
said, "Do I need to kick you?"
yeah. So what are you
And
doing?
I was like, "Excuse me, what?"
Yeah. Mhm.
And the thing that you said to me was, you said, when exactly did you give up?"
Yeah.
Oh, you guys.
Yeah.
Like, I know everybody right now just went, can you imagine if your autism whisperer said that to you? And I said, what do you mean? And you said, look, he's making great progress. He's doing really well. But when did you decide that this was enough and decided you didn't want to go for more? And Peter, you just, oh man, that made me get off because I got comfortable. I didn't give up. I got comfortable, which is almost the same thing. So you did that then you've dropped in from time to time, and then my favorite thing is when he graduated with honors last June, right? And I said, we only get 4 tickets. I've got 1 ticket. Peter, do you want to come? And you had a broken ankle, you were in a cast, and you were like, oh, I'm coming.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you and I sat on the bleachers and cried like Girl Scouts who'd lost their cookies.
Absolutely.
um
No shame. No shame.
and you know, somewhere I wanted to look for it last night. I didn't have time. Somewhere I have my favorite picture in all of humanity, which is a picture of you on Jem's first bus ride. There's a picture of the two of you hanging out the window, him waving to me, and you've got your mirrored aviator glasses on. You look cooler than cool, and you guys are off to go on a field trip. Yeah. Amanda says, I'm bawling. That's so amazing. Yes. I hope that all of you have a Peter in your life. And Ka says, I'm sitting here in a puddle of tears. I love the freezing to get him to engage. Yeah. Peter is brilliant. And Peter also taught a lot of people on our team. So even when he was gone, his influence was there. I still meet therapists that, were trained by you, Peter, and they grew up to be amazing professionals too. But you have something extra, something special. I don't really know what, but and I don't want to speculate about it, but because I think it's just Peter. But you see things in a way that I don't think that your average person does. I think you're very good at teaching people, but I think that you have something extra above and beyond. Unfortunately, I'm not going to let you speak today. I'm just going to talk about you. So, Peter, I want you to tell them a little bit about you, because one of the other things that people go, well, we get these behaviorists who come to our door, and I want to know how much training and what their background is, and if they haven't been to college for psychology. So, how did you come into being in this field? Let's start there.
Oh boy. That yeah, okay. So I was working at Starbucks actually at the time. I was a Starbucks barista, and Dr.
And
Grampy.
probably the best one.
I don't know about that. I still do actually make a pretty mean cup of coffee, I'm not gonna
Yeah.
lie. Um, but Dr. Grand Pichet was one of my regulars actually, and I started kind of just picking up on her. People always say, "Oh, I love people watching. I love people watching." Okay, I love people watching, and I liked analyzing what was happening with people before ever stepping foot into an autism treatment facility. Um, it was just something I was passionate about. And I started picking up on the way Dr. Grand Pichet was dressed coming into the store. Like I knew that, okay, if she was in a rush and you kind of told, like you knew what kind of day it was by the look on her face, how quickly she was coming into the store, I'm pretty sure that was a latte day. I think I still remember it. And then if she was coming in and she was more relaxed, it was a mocha day. So I just kind of like I'd see and I'd start having it prepped and ready by the time she even got to the counter. And she was just like, "How do you know which one it is I'm gonna get?" And I was like, "I just kind of read your behavior and I can tell." And I didn't get it 100% of the time because no, that's not possible. But she really got a kick out of that and was just like, so we started talking and communicating regularly. I was, of course, living in Los Angeles, so if you're living in Los Angeles and you're in the service industry, you're one of two things. So I was the actor
Yes.
pursuing that dream. And then, just seeing that that was just not there was nothing happening there. It just wasn't coming to fruition. So I decided I was going to join the military, and I started meeting with a recruiter and started going in that direction, and was communicating all this with Doreen because we'd started develop or Dr. Grampy because we'd actually started developing a little bit of like a friendship, you know.
Yeah.
And she was like, "No, come work for me." And 2 decades later, here I am.
Yeah.
Yep. And I
Yeah.
at that time I only had a when we talk about like what's their training, what's their experience, like what's their education. At that time, I'd only had a high school education,
Yeah.
and was didn't have plans to actually go beyond that. Actually, to be honest.
And here's the thing that I want to say to all of you watching, that don't judge like the criteria that we have in our mind. Like, remember, I thought that somebody was going to show up in a business suit with like an attack, one of those like messenger bag, leather
Oh
bags.
man.
Like that, I thought that's what was going to show up. And Peter showed up, and thank God it was Peter, right? So don't be judging your therapist by what they already know, because they might be Peter. They might be the next generation of Peter. So have them come in and see what their rapport is with your kid. Now, Sarah has written in and says she's in Dubai and she would like for you to come back. Uh, so, and Sarah, this gentleman does travel. So, I don't know. I don't know that that's, you love Dubai. Am I wrong,
Yeah,
Peter?
I did. I loved
So,
Dubai.
I
Absolutely.
don't know.
Yeah.
Perhaps you could have a conversation. But he can't come back to stay, Sarah. That's the thing. If you need him to come and consult, I'm sure that could be arranged, but you can't have him to stay. They were so worried when they apparently they knew he was going to Dubai, and everyone was so worried that I was going to lay down in front of the plane on the tarmac to stop him from going that first time. But I didn't. I was so proud of myself when you told me. I said to you, you know what? Yes, it's time. We need to share you with other people. This is what you need for your career. I'm in support. I then, when you left, cried crocodile tears, but I knew it was what was best for you, and I knew dare you. So, but you can't have him full time, Sarah, because we love having him in Los Angeles too much. But she does have a quick question for you.
Sure.
She says, I have an amazing therapist, love her to bits, but my twins, who are 2.5 years old, cry every time she comes. But once they start the session, they're fine. And she says, I'm kind of embarrassed when they cry because she's so dedicated and amazing. Do you have any words of advice, Peter?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, you could probably help with from the mother perspective about being embarrassed. But I will tell you that m- most of the therapists don't take it personally. So that's one thing that you can let go of is like, and look, Jem wasn't always happy to see me. There were times where he just did not, especially that Friday afternoon session.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
that Friday afternoon session, it was tough. It was tough. Those were tough for him. Um, and sometimes depending on your children and the circumstances, whatever that activity they were doing beforehand, um, could actually evoke some of that. So figuring out what it is to kind of transition them into therapy time, whatever works for you as a family, whatever works for the team, maybe having an idea where the therapist comes in already knowing what you all are doing as a family and comes into that, so it's a more seamless transition. There are always like strategies like that that you can come up with, but one thing that I always tell parents is like if there's something very reinforcing or very fun that you're doing right before therapy session, and it could even just be like a just sitting down and watching TV break, like just a relaxing break, it's going to be very hard for them to readjust and go back into like, okay, therapy mode, it's time to learn now.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, if you just think about it, and I think, if I love mom and mom is amazing and I'm getting to spend time with mom, my second favorite person in the world can come in. But if I know that, and I love them, but if I know that that means that mom's going to go in the other room, it would make sense to me that I would be like, no, I don't want to do that until we get started doing something fun. Right. So, but I so appreciate you saying, Sarah, that it embarrasses you. I hope that your therapist is secure in the fact that she's amazing. Tell her how amazing she is all the time. But I think that the people in your profession, Peter, are so good at not taking a child's behavior personally. I say this all the time when I'm talking to professionals that, like, the kid comes in, kicks the door on the way in, pees in your shoe, throws a toy, and you guys never take it personally. You're never like, well, I must be a bad therapist. You always think, well, he came in with that. That's who he is. He's having a rough day, and you don't take it personally. The thing I'm always trying to get them to do is not take it personally when the parents are having a bad day, and not think that it makes them a bad therapist. But I'll bet that she does not take it personally that your twins are crying. Jay says, wow, in our country, we need formal qualifications to work with children. And Jay, I don't, certainly Peter didn't walk in from the Starbucks and go right into helping a child. He had pretty extensive training. First he observed, then you did one-on-one, then he had to have a field evaluation before he ever got to work with a child. And now certain insurance companies require you to have an RBT or a BCAT to be able to do that. But we're talking, oh my gosh, 17 years ago, 18 years ago.
Yeah.
And Sarah says, send me the details. Let's connect. Sarah, if you email me, I will get you connected with Peter. And she says she totally agrees. She says, I am the problem. Now, Sarah,
Not a
don't
problem.
word it that way. That's not a problem. That means you're the most reinforcing thing. That's not a problem. Is it, Peter?
Not at all. No. No.
But use it to your advantage.
Mm-hmm.
Amanda says, when I was working, I never took anything personal. I have patience for everybody else's kid except my own. Join that club, Amanda. Sarah says, when I'm home, it's more difficult. I am told when I am not there, the transition is better. That just means that you're the most reinforcing thing. You can work with that. Colin wants to know, do you feel that children can relate and work better based on the gender of the therapist, Peter? That's a great question.
That is a good question. It depends on the child. I think every child connects with every person differently. I haven't, they specifically need a male therapist. Some kids specifically need a female therapist. But I haven't seen like it overwhelmingly like a shift more towards one or the other, to be honest.
Can I be honest and say to you that I think that if you are a parent of a boy on the spectrum, that you should be pushing for there to be at least one good male therapist on your team. I feel very strongly about that. And my son will not appear. I always get approval to say things on the show, and I didn't get approval for this, and I'm going to catch what over it. But there came a time when stuff happens downstairs, and boys will put their hands in their pants because stuff is going on down there, whether it just needs to be rearranged or whatever is happening. And neither my husband or I were successful at addressing that for lots of different reasons. Because we're the ones who were changing his diapers and doing so he wasn't getting that information from us. We weren't the people he was going to go to. And I'm talking, he was 5, maybe 4 or 5, Peter.
Yeah.
And Peter, I remember the day that Peter was like, okay, here, forgive me, you guys. I'm going to go there. I'm going to go, Peter's going to go, here's how we rearrange our junk without putting our hands in our pants. And, and here's how, and like, my husband and I stood there and we were like, this is a fascinating lesson. But he needed someone, a cool dude. Earlier I was saying, I don't know what is the phrase anymore. Off the chain. It's lit.
Oh,
I don't,
please.
I've
given up on being hip and cool a long time
right.
ago.
I don't know what the things are, but there's also behaviors that are acceptable and not acceptable during different things. It's important to have a guy on the team if you have a boy. I'm just going to say that. And the guys are few and far between. Whereas I do not feel that way when it's girls. I don't think that you need to have a male on the team. I really don't. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing, but I'm of the mindset, save the guy therapists for the boy team. There are so many more boys getting therapy than girls, whether that's right or wrong, but there are so many great girl therapists. There's a plethora of girl therapists. Girls should have girls and boys should have girls and boys. That's my opinion. No one cares what my opinion is, but that's what I think because it makes sense to me, right? Now, when girls are older and teenagers, I definitely think there's a benefit to having male therapists on the team then. but I don't see the benefit when they're little girls. I really don't. Now, there have been some amazing, like I know you have done some amazing work with amazing little girls. And I know Vince Redmond, all we have to do is look at the recovered video and see the relationship that he had with Jana that he has to this day. There's nothing wrong or bad about it. I just think that we should be saving the men for the boys teams. Parker says, Peter, have you ever had any flack from self-advocates about ABA? Other self-advocates are calling me out for supporting ABA.
Yes. That is
Yeah,
the short answer. And I think that ABA in and of itself is, there are shades of gray there. And I think that that's one thing where, yeah, I've seen where some people have called me out and they've had valid concerns about their treatment and the forms of ABA that they received. So yeah, I definitely have. It's hard to approach with certain people, but with others, it's easy to kind of just say like, "I look, I'm with you. I'm more about a human connection before I even talk about ABA because um,
exactly.
really ABA is a science about human behavior. So it's not about autism, really. It's the most successful treatment for autism, but it wasn't a science that they created to treat autism. And we all know this now, and those are the questions that were happening when I started in the field. But I've I've used ABA on myself,
Of
honestly.
course.
So yeah, I have, and I think one thing that I try and do is like if I approach every person with love, compassion, kindness, thinking about values and what's important to them, then the ABA is easier to adjust for them.
Yeah. This weekend I'm scheduled to go to Cal ABA. I'm on a panel where we're talking about how neurodiversity and ABA should go together. That's what the panel discussion is on, and I'm there to represent caregivers and our concerns about ABA and how it needs to be embracing neurodiversity. And as I've been thinking about and looking at the questions that they've already got for me before the audience questions, I keep going back to those early days, Peter, that this is how you came in the door to me. You said he's an individual. And I'm going to figure out what makes Jem tick and what are the things that he wants to learn and that we want him to learn. And then we're going to teach him those things in a compassionate way. There was never, you didn't come in and no one ever came in and said, well, we're going to change him so that he fits in better. Like that just didn't happen for me. But I do know parents that is how their ABA professionals approach them. And part of why I'm on the panel to say that's a giant turnoff, y'all. Like, I know it's a turnoff for advocates, but it's a turnoff for the caregivers too. Our kids are fabulous. And we want people to come in the door who think that they're fabulous. And when I speak to professionals, I always say to them, the biggest advice that I can give you is act like you like my child, even if it's like you have to pretend, because that is the gift that you gave us, Peter. You came in the door and I had the feeling that you couldn't wait to be there to work with Jem. That Jem, like it was exactly how I feel when you watch Bono in concert. If you go to see Bono in concert, there are going to be a million people in the stadium and everyone leaves going, no, I swear he made eye contact with me and he was singing with me. Everyone says that at a U2 concert. I've been there. I know this. And that's exactly, you would come in the door and I would feel like we were your only client, that there were no other children before or after us, that Jem was your favorite. And I know that to not be the case, that now I know that we have a special place in your heart, but that you make every single one of your clients feel that way. And that made us listen to you and trust you, because you were always about what was best for Jem. My goodness, when he was in kindergarten and he had to learn how to count to 100 by the 100th day. Do you remember this?
Yes.
And we had a clinic the night before the 100th day, and I was freaking out. I was like, he can't do it, you guys, and he has to be able to do it by tomorrow. And like, what was going to happen if he didn't? I don't know, but he was going to be behind. And that was the one thing we said, we were not going to let him be behind again. And you were like, well, let me try it this way. And then you would try. And then you were like, no, no, wait a second. Let me try it this way. And then I don't know, it was like the third or fourth time. And you said, give me a minute. And you were over in the corner. You were always in the corner tearing paper and writing things down. And you came back and you said, no, I think I understand what the disconnect is. You were like, you said to the room full of people, give me a second here. And you sat down with him and you said, Jem, look at this. And I remember you had papers that said 10, 20, and 30, and then you had 1 through 9, and you laid down the 10. And first he did the 1 through 9, and you picked them up, and then you laid down the 10. And then we did 11 because he could get to 12 and then he was gone. He didn't
Mhm.
understand that it was sets of tens. And you visually showed it to him, and I watched him learn it. And no one partied harder than you did. You were dancing around the room and
Yeah.
you were lifting him up and going, dude, you're the best. And
Yeah. Yeah.
everyone was crying, and you weren't going to let it go. You were going to, but it was always the thing of, I'm going to find the way to teach it the way Jem's going to get it.
Yeah, and I think that that's something that I say it a lot now with my because I do private clients and consultations where I just say, look, we have to stop manipulating the behavior and start manipulating the environment, adapt the environment to them, and that's the only way we can then teach them to adapt to the environment. And I think that that even, like, it goes to like schooling, and the word when I started in the field was, we want them to be normal.
Mm.
I'm not normal. Like, what is normal? That word was so, it became so, and then they started saying, well, neurotypical, even that, you kind of go, look, no, it's that the fact that like neurodiversity is a thing now is really important that we understand.
Yeah. Sarah is saying, my therapist always tells us, give your child the same consideration that you would give any adult. Thank you. Amen. And she says, don't take stuff like their tablet from them without a warning. And then she would ask us, would you snatch a mobile from an adult?
Yeah.
What a great reminder.
I
I
like your
love,
therapist a lot.
yeah, I like her too. I love, that Dr. Grandpichet always says it has to be fair, which is basically the same thing that you're saying. It has to be fair. And that whenever we're looking at what's happening with a child, we have to apply that mindset to it. I want to pivot a little bit to talking about Dr. Grandpichet, because you came to our house and were at our house for a while. And I think it was already that you'd been for 3 months, left, gone to Florida, come back, and been working with us for like, I don't know how long. And you started talking to me about Dr. Grandpichet. And I was always like, Peter, talk to the hand. I don't really know who this woman is. I don't want to know who this woman is. I've never met her. She's not coming in my house and making a difference. You are. I'm not all that interested. And you just kept talking to me about her and saying, oh, Shannon, if you ever met her, your head would explode. And I just poo pooed that, because for me, you were everything. You were everything. You always will be our autism whisperer. And you kept saying, but she's the one that, believed in me and taught me this and da da da. And you said all these wonderful things. And then finally, when I met her, I was like, oh my goodness. And I said to her the other day, I was like, oh, well, I guess Peter's right again. Um, so I also owe that connection to you as well. Because now knowing her has also been one of the greatest privileges in my life too. And that also came from you. So really, I always say to her, you gave me a gift that no one else could have given me, because she gave me the gift of you. And I made a video way back when Jem Martin, I made a video that you guys can find. It's online. It's on YouTube, on my old YouTube channel. It's called ABA, the Autism Miracle in My Living Room. And it's a video about Jem in the early years and doing therapy with Peter and eventually going to kindergarten. And in it, I say, thank you for sending Peter, because he was everything. And then soon I'm hopeful, because I wrote a series of children's books, And the second one is entirely, devoted to Peter. And it's called My Name is Jem and I Have a Shadow Named Peter. And it's my love letter to Peter. And I keep saying someday that we're going to get that published. And my other book is coming out in June, so the children's books are in the pipeline. So because you mean everything, I got to
You
look at
know,
the
you,
comments here. Say what.
I knew I came into this as like fight every urge. She's gonna want to make you cry. She's gonna make you cry. She's gonna make you cry. So I'm sitting here biting my lip. You know me, and you know that like I just like I humbly accept those things that you say about me now. And it took a long time for me to believe in myself, and you know that, and that's a conversation we've had. But I can never like for me it's still this like I can never live up to that title of
Oh,
autism
but you
whisperer,
do
but
every day.
it's so it's humbling, and I'm honored that you still feel that way about
Oh,
me these
more than
17 years
ever.
later.
Oh my gosh, more than ever. Ka says, yes, so many educators lump all children in one category. They don't seem to learn the children individually, how they work, how they learn. Not all children are the same. Autism or not, they're all unique. Amen to that, Ka. Sarah says, my therapist, oh, no, we already did that. ABA Made Easy said, I was a BC ABA and I'm currently in residency for child neurology. I plan to start a clinic to focus on patients with autism and epilepsy. Any things you wish were available at your doctor's clinics? That's like, well, you know what? I love this
Yeah.
question, but you should pay Peter to consult with you.
Yeah.
Um, but I also I'm going to say this, and you can think about this, Peter. And if you
Yeah.
guys want to talk privately on the side, I still am looking for. I know people have tried it, and it's really hard because insurance does not make it easy. But I wish that there was a one-stop shop for parents. If your child, they've learned this about everything else, that it's multidisciplinary. You need to have a lot of different things. And the fact that they say to autism parents, okay, here's your backpack. Now, we're going to tell you about this, but we're not going to tell you about this. And make sure you find a good speech and language pathologist. Good luck figuring that out. And if you miss the OT bus, oh, sorry about that. And you don't know about the funding that some people know. It's crazy that parents have to go all of these places. But that's all in my book about where to go. So it's the shameless promotion. My book tells you here's where you need to go to get all these things. But why isn't there a clinic somewhere who provides all of that in one place for a group of lucky parents and children? Parker says, my male therapist was an education major and my female one was a retired teacher, so it worked. Peter reminds me a lot of my former therapist, Scott, who is now doing efforts to teach friendship to neurotypical students with disabled students. Amen to that person. And Amanda says they are building a Cortica here. It's based in California and now it's coming to Houston. It's a one-stop shop. I'm going to look more into that because I know people have been trying, but I just have not found any place that really is doing it successfully, Amanda. So I would like to see how Cortica is doing that because I would love to be promoting a good one-stop shop here on the show. Peter, I don't know how, I didn't even let you say much of anything. This was just about how much I love you and what an amazing expert you are. I wish, well, I'm just going to put it out there. I wish you had time to give us little tidbits from time to time. Maybe we could talk about that,
Sure.
like Peter tips,
Sure.
because Peter's amazing. And if any of you have the opportunity to work with Peter, you are the luckiest of the lucky and take full advantage of it because he is divine and delicious and fabulous and makes your kid feel like they can do anything even when it's hard. There were days that my son had a hard time and Peter helped him with dignity to get through when he was having a hard time. So he is forever amazing. I didn't make you cry. I made myself cry. Okay. So Amanda says we need his contact information for consulting. Reach out to me, Shannon, at autism-live.com, and I will make sure that you guys get connected. But Peter is willing to travel. Peter has traveled. You spent a great deal of time in South Africa.
South Africa, Jordan, Ghana, Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Saudi Arabia as well.
He
Canada a little bit,
loves
but yeah.
he loves to travel, so
Yes.
that's not an issue. And but he is based here in LA, and he's staying based here in LA, and you'll have to fight me over that. So I'm just putting it out there. I don't want to get combative here, but yes. In any case, so excited to have you here. We have to do it more, and next time I'll try to let you speak. We can always apply the tape like we do when Kobe Bird comes, because I don't let him say anything.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been
You have no
absolute
idea how
honor
much
and
I love
pleasure.
you.
Same.
And my husband feels exactly the same way, and so
Same.
does my kid.
Y'all are family. Y'all are family.
And my mother felt that way up to her very last breath.
Yeah.
She was like, that young man is something special, because my mother could see that as Dr. Doreen did. ABA Made Easy. Thank you for responding. Yes, that's the goal, to incorporate medicine, ABA, PT, OT, and speech in one place. Well, reach back out to us, because like I said, we would like to be promoting places like that. And, write to us if you want Peter to be a consultant, because he would be good for you. If you're in LA, did I put that asterisk on it? Are you in LA? Or he can consult long distance or fly back and forth, but he has to come to LA from time to time. I'm just saying. Thanks for watching Autism Live. If you found anything helpful in this video, please give us a like. In fact, make sure that you smash that subscribe button on YouTube and give us a like on Facebook. You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram for important updates. And please download our free podcast wherever you get your podcasts. See you next time. Until then, give your kiddos a hug from me, and one for you too. Bye-bye for now. To subscribe, click here. And if you'd like to check out some more of our videos, click here.